Hi everybody, I'm Pia from Stitches and Scraps. Today I'm going to show you how to crochet circular handles like these onto a bag. This particular bag is bag number 4 in the 2022 Bag Along Cal on Stitches and Scraps. You can find a link to the pattern in the description on this video. I'll be using Dishy Twist, which is a worsted weight cotton yarn that was provided by Knit Picks and We Crochet for this bag pattern. We Crochet sponsored all of the bags in the Bag Along Cal this year. I've come to the row where I want to add the handles, and there were a few stitches. This is 11 stitches before the handle. Now on this particular bag I'm working these in linked double crochet, but you could do these, in whatever stitches for your bag. Just crochet up to where you want to start adding the handle. Now for the next 23 stitches, I'm going to add the handle. I'm going to place my handle in front of and slightly above this last row of stitches so that I can clearly see the stitches through the handle. This is the next stitch that I want to work into. So I'm going to reach down, and it's okay to make this loop nice and big. Reach down over the handle into that first stitch, and then pull up a loop from behind the handle. And you see how that wraps the yarn around the handle here? And then I'm going to go ahead and finish a single crochet. So it's basically a very long single crochet done around the handle of the bag. And don't worry too much right now about where these tops of the stitches end up. We're going to roll that where we want it after we're done with this row or this round. So there's 2 stitches. I'll do that again. I bring my hook in front. Now notice my yarn is at the back, so my hook comes down in front through the handle and then through the stitch, and then I grab the yarn from behind and pull that up through. And I'm going to do that on this one for 23 stitches. Now notice I'm pulling the yarn up nice and big. If you don't pull this loop up big, it becomes nearly impossible to finish your stitch. You want that loop up nice and big so it sits up at the top, and then you can easily finish your stitch. When it starts to be hard to get in there, like because you're going too far around the curve, just go ahead and slide the stitches together. And now I've lost count, so give me 1 second to count. Every 2 lines here is 1 stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's 19 stitches. I want to get to 23, so I have 4 more to do. So there's 20, 21, 22, and I'm keeping things nice and loose here, and 23. Now I'm going to kind of set this aside here. I'm actually going to push it up and out of my way and bring the yarn out from behind it and look for the next stitch. So this stitch has already been worked into. Do you see the yarn coming out of it there? So I'm going to go to the next stitch and continue in the pattern that I've established here, which is going to be, for this pattern, is going to be linked double crochet. So there's my first double crochet, and I'm going to continue working linked double crochet until I get around to the next handle. Now once you're a few stitches away from the handle, go ahead and pull your hook out, pull the loop up big so it doesn't slip, and now we can adjust this ridge of stitch tops to line up nicely where we want it. Just kind of slide them around, and you're actually going to pull on the stitches here. Do you see how the body of the stitch slides around? You can slide them around like this, pull the body of the stitch close to the top of the stitch, like that, with it on the inside. So you can see, let's see if it's clearer from this way. I'm kind of pushing the body of the stitch and the top of the stitch together, like that. And I'm pulling up on the stitches, or pulling away on the stitches, which helps them move. And when I'm done, I have this nice ridge lined up right along the edge of the fabric. So you don't have to be careful when you're doing the stitches because you can rotate them later. So there is that nice line. Now I'm going to continue working around until I get to where I want the next handle. I've reached the point where I want to attach the next handle, so I grab my next handle and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm holding it up above the stitches so I can see the stitches clearly. There's the stitch I just worked into. You can see the bottom of the stitch coming out of it, right? So I'm going to start in this stitch. Pull up my loop nice and big so I can reach it without twisting too much. Insert, grab that loop and pull it up, and then finish my stitch. And then I can snug that up a little bit. Okay, and now I just continue doing single crochets around the handle. Again, another 23 times. All right, let's count and make sure we have this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. So again, I could put this down now and shift everything, but I like to get a couple stitches away from it. So move the handle out of the way. That stitch was just worked into for the handle. You can see the yarn coming out of it right there. So that stitch is the one we want to start in. And I'm doing linked double crochet. So I said you can do any stitch you want on the sides of the handle. Notice that we did single crochet on the handle and I'm doing double crochet on the sides of it. That makes the handle sit in a little bit more in the pattern, just half a row, kind of an indent. If you do single crochets on the side, then the handle will stick up a little bit more in line with the surface of the bag. Okay, that's far enough for me to be able to fix this handle. So let's pull that out. And we're going to adjust these stitches by kind of pulling those ends towards that top of the stitch there. So be gentle with it, take your time, but just pull and it should slide together. You'll feel the yarn actually shift as it runs through the stitches here. It's actually kind of neat. But it's one of those things you have to do to get the feel of, and then you're like, oh, that's what it is. And now those line up. And I put this line on the inside of the bag. If you prefer, you can very easily move this the other way and have it on the outside of the bag. It's whichever direction you like the look of. I like this, feels like a seam to me, so I like that hidden on the inside of the bag. And then I just finish stitching around and the top of this bag will be done. Now I've finished the round, but before I fasten off, I'm actually going to just check the placement of these handles and make sure that it lines up nice and straight with the bottom of my bag so that I know that they're centered. If they're off a little bit, because the beginning of the round is not centered, right? So I just want to check that this is correct. If they're off, if they were sitting like this, then I could rip it out, adjust my stitch counts, and get them more centered. But these are nicely centered, so I am ready to fasten off and my bag will be done. And that's how you add circular handles to the top of a crocheted bag. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends, or leave me a comment. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great videos. Thanks for watching.